For us, it's a daily thing.
It's every day, right?
This is Mammoth Daily
We're going to take you inside the locker room
with Mike Fulta.
We want this show to be about the fans, and we want this show to be driven by our Utah Mammoth community.
And Adrian Denny.
Fans can submit what they want to hear us talk about, what they want to hear Utah weigh in on. It's all going to be here.
Here's Mike and AD with you.
Utahns, countrymen, lend me your ears.
Right here on Mammoth Daily.
Happy Wednesday, everybody, and welcome into our Wednesday Odd Man Rush episode of Mammoth Daily. And we've got a talk with Clayton Keller coming up. It's a short talk, but a good one. Utah had another Olympian named to the games coming up in Milan, Italy. Karel Vejmelka was announced that he would be part of Team Czechia. That news came down on Tuesday as we were traveling back from New York City and traveling back from a successful road trip, winning 2 out of 3 out east. But Karel Vejmelka, one of 3 goaltenders to be part of the Team Czechia, along with Lukáš Dostal and Dan Vladar. And that'll be an interesting group, Adrian, to look at. The Czechs, they've got some big names. You think of Marty Necas, you think of David Pastrnak, and you think of Karel Vejmelka, who has earned this appointment being one of the most relied upon goaltenders in the NHL this year.
He's a guy that won 34 games during the 2025 calendar year. Only Jake Ottinger and Andrei Vasilevsky won more. They won 35. He's tied for the NHL leads in wins this season with 18. And I just am really, really happy for Veggie. He's represented Czechia 4 times at the World Championships, and is a guy that just you could tell when he was asked about it at training camp how much it would mean to him to be on the Olympic team. So happy to see him be one of the 3 goalies selected. And we talked about it on the Monday Morning Power Play. Bear kind of said it, and we can follow this as well. He said your goalie's always going to be one of your top stars, and you can talk about the goalie every day. And we did Monday, and I did on yesterday's show, and we're talking about him again, and really happy he's an Olympian.
Mentioned a couple of the stars for Team Czechia. There's also, Adrian, a bunch of guys on that roster who aren't in the NHL, but they used to be. So they might be familiar names if you followed the league through years past. Guys like Dominik Kubalik, Andrei Kashuk, David Tomashik, who was with Edmonton earlier this year and terminated his contract to go back over and play in Europe. I do think they're maybe a little bit weak on the defensive side. The Czechs, their top guys are Radko Gudas and Filip Hronek, really good players. But then Jan Ruda and David Spacek, a guy who was playing over here in the AHL for a couple of years. So they're in Group A with Team Canada. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of run they get. We're still waiting, Adrian, to see the roster for Team Germany, and I would have a hard time imagining JJ Peterka is not part of that group.
Yeah, he's got to be, right? For some reason with Karel Vejmelka. Mike, did you feel there was any question about it? Because as we went through the articles and the previews and looking at potential rosters for Czechia, Vejmelka was listed, but he wasn't listed on the roster, right? He was one of the guys that they were talking about that was potential, and it feels like JJ Peterka is a guy that's on the German roster as far as that goes. So, but I was kind of surprised to see Vejmelka not listed as a shoe-in. Not that the articles are written by the management for the national team, but as you look back at it, he won 26 games last year for the Mammoth, was the team MVP. He started, 25 of the final 26 games. He was there. He had a phenomenal season and started off this year where he was last year and tied for the NHL lead in wins at 18. I love his record, 18, 11, and 2. That's a good goalie.
Yeah, and his numbers have been trending up as well. He was really good in Utah's 2 wins on the most recent road trip. He was huge against the Islanders early until the Mammoth could break that game open. And then against the Rangers, he had a couple of big stops as well when New York could have broken the game out themselves, and they could have gone up 2 or 3 goals on Utah, but Vejmelka came up with some really big stops in what was a pretty tight game throughout. But just looking at the list of other Czech goalies, there are a few other names that you would have thought would be in the mix, and I thought Dostal would be on there for sure for the Czechs, Anaheim's goaltender. You knew Vejmelka was going to be in the conversation. It was just would he be able to surpass some of the other veterans that are out of the Czech Republic that have had good goaltending careers? Peter Mrazek is a guy who's had trouble staying healthy recently, but he's been in the league a little bit longer and has had some good seasons, even on bad teams. David Riddick this year, I don't think anybody saw this most recent stretch of him playing with the Islanders, being great as the number 2 behind Sorokin. But when Sorokin has gone down, Riddick has been fantastic for the Isles. And so that was a bit of a surprise, but that's another name to at least consider. But Vejmelka's got a really big body of work. And you go back to last year, even the years previous in Arizona, he's played a lot of hockey. He has steadily built his game up to where after a bit of a dip at the start of this year, it's back on that ascension. And I think he absolutely deserves the appointment. One thing I thought was weird, Adrian, when all the countries listed out their preliminary rosters, which I think was in June in the offseason, everybody listed 6 guys basically that were for sure going to be on the final Olympic roster. It was just kind of a teaser. JJ Peterka was not on the Team Germany preliminary roster. And you had guys like Lucas Reichel was on there for the Germans. And Reichel's a really exciting player in international play. I got to call his games when he was in the American Hockey League. It hasn't really worked out for him in the NHL the way that the Blackhawks and then Vancouver thought it would have. But JJ Peterka is right around Reichel's age. I believe they played together at World Juniors, and Peterka has a much better body of work in the NHL, but it was Reichel who got that appointment to the preliminary roster and not Peterka. So I thought that was interesting, and we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but it's just hard to imagine Team Germany without JJ Peterka. I mean, there's a lot of really good players that have come out of Germany, but it's nowhere near the depth of field of these other countries. It's Stützle, it's Draisaitl, it's Peterka, and then it's kind of everybody else behind him.
That would be
up front as far as forwards go. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that'd be a huge shocker. There's just not too many guys out there that have pushed 30 goals in the NHL the last 2 seasons and are on a better pace this year than JJ Peterka, who's a young guy, right? He's 23 years old, so it seems like that would be an easy one to make. Like Lucas Reichel got traded from Chicago to Vancouver because Vancouver needed centermen and Chicago had moved in several different directions. That's what we're talking about there. And his first half of the season hasn't been, any different than it had been starting off the year in Chicago and how he finished it last year.
How about this? I pulled up the all-time list of NHL players born in Germany. And again, some amazing names on this list, especially Leon Draisaitl, Tim Stützle at the top. JJ Peterka, all time amongst German-born players, is 10th in scoring. And the guy's 23. He's born in 2002. He's going to be much higher on that list by the time his career concludes. He's 4th all-time amongst active players in terms of NHL points from players born in Germany. So, hard to imagine he doesn't make that team, which would give Utah 4 Olympians on the hockey side. You'd have Clayton Keller for Team USA, Olli Maatta for Team Finland, Karel Vejmelka for the Czechs, and JJ Peterka for the Germans. So, little smorgasbord of everything, AD. It'll be fun to watch those guys compete.
Yeah, can't wait to watch the Olympics. There's going to be something every day, Mike, that we're going to be watching with Clayton Keller on Team USA, Olli Maatta on Team Finland, Karel Vejmelka on Czechia. We assume JJ Peterka. That's going to be great. The 4 Nations, Mike, was awesome, but there were there were 4 teams, right? It wasn't an all-day thing like the Olympics, and we had Olimata and Juuso Valamaki that we were watching for representing Utah, and it was still an unbelievably fun tournament to watch during that 2-week stretch there. And I think everybody in North America was on board with it and excited every night when those games came on.
You mentioned Juuso Valamaki. Do you want to get into that, or do you want to preview tonight's game against Ottawa here in the first? Which way you want to go?
We got all sorts of time, Mike. Where do you want to take us?
Let's touch on Juuso real quick. Juuso Valamaki traded to the Carolina Hurricanes in exchange for future considerations. He had been playing in Tucson, hadn't played with Utah in the NHL since last year, was injured last year, and spent most of the offseason rehabbing, had been rehabbing at the start of this year. Was always a joy to talk to in the room, and now he gets a fresh start in Carolina. And Adrian, I think this is kind of a win-win-win here. It's a fresh start for Juuso. He gets to make an impression on a new team. The Mammoth clear $2 million off the cap, and the Carolina Hurricanes get some depth on their D with a guy who has proven that he can fill in and play a role in probably your third pair.
Yeah, Juuso was playing every night at the beginning of last year, and Utah had 2 of their top D get hurt. And so general manager Bill Armstrong traded for Olimata. He comes in, that fills a spot, right? So they call up Maverick Lamoureux, and we get to the second half of the year, and Marino's back, and Durzee's back, and Mata, an established player who'd been in the NHL in his 13th year at that point, Mike. And there's all of a sudden the defensive core around Juuso Valamaki really grew and really got a lot deeper to what it was at the start of the year. You're not talking about somebody that did anything differently than they had been every day in the NHL for the previous 3 seasons. He went down to the AHL, got hurt the first weekend down there, and was out for a year, and he's back and ready. But yeah, as you said, fun guy to go talk to. Always there with a smile, and all the best to him, and happy that he gets this opportunity in Carolina, in an organization that isn't quite as deep in terms of blue liners. He's going to start in Chicago in the American Hockey League, but he'll get called up before the end of the year. You have to imagine.
Yeah, fresh start, and he had played 43 games with Utah last year. Had a couple of goals for the Mammoth, and had been with the organization since 2022? Adrian, I'm looking at here. So had been there a few years, and really kind of was in the doghouse in Calgary for a little bit. Came over to Arizona and had the best years of his career under Andre Tourney. His best year came in the 22-23 when he was basically an everyday NHLer, put up 34 points that year. And then next year was really good defensively, even better, had a plus 12 rating 2 seasons ago with Arizona before the team came to Utah. And now we'll kind of get a fresh start. And it was the first game that he played in the AHL last year where he tore his ACL, right?
Yeah.
In Tucson.
Yeah. Went down, got settled. First game. I hated to see that. And we've seen him around conditioning and working out. And he was part of the Pay It Forward Day, went shopping at Target with the whole team. So we've seen him around. And I'll tell you, Mike, that team in Tucson right now with those D, and Valamaki was a part of it, but Maverick Lamoureux and Dmitry Simashev and Artem Duda and Maximilian Zuber and all prospects, I have never seen a more top-heavy team on defense, and the defense runs the show in Tucson, and they're 4-0-1 coming out of Christmas. They are so much fun to watch right now. I caught a couple of their games over the weekend against Calgary, but watching those big, long defensemen move the puck around and create offense, it's a fun thing to see.
Yeah, it's a really good decor, and we can talk about that a little bit as well. And we will get to tonight's game, but we've got some news to go through first. So just kind of finishing up things here on the ripple effects from the Valamaki trade. But going through the Tucson D, you still have Scott Perunovich down there, Adrian. So you still have somebody to run the power play, and still kind of a veteran blue liner to be out there and and steady things throughout different situations. But Simishev almost playing at a point per game right now, 11 points in 12 games. That's good to see him get his offensive side going. You mentioned Duda and Lamoureux. You watch him more than I do, Adrian, but do you have a sense for what the gap left by Juuso could mean for Tucson? I know he's only played a couple of games there.
Yeah, Perunovic and Simishev are out there for half of the game, Mike, in various situations. And Perunovic has 21 points in 30 games. The veteran that they brought in to the locker room, Kevin Connaughton, is hurt. So it's Perunovic and 5 prospects. But they were rotating through over the weekend for their D, with the exception, as I said, of Simishev and Perunovic, who were playing a lot.
Yeah. Well, let's turn the page here, and we are going to get to Ottawa here in a little bit and tonight's game. But Adrian, why don't we get to one of the newest members of Team USA first? We have a chat with Clayton Keller on our Wednesday Odd Man Rush. I took Keller one-on-one this time. Now, I will say before we get to the interview, it is short and sweet. This happened basically the day it was announced, and we were in Jersey. And Keller had just done a media scrum, and then like the bus was leaving in like 5 minutes. And so he hurried back to the room and showered just so that he could come out and talk to us really quickly. So we appreciate the time. It's a quick, couple minutes here, but I think it's good insight, and he gives thoughtful responses. So let's fast forward to that and get to our Wednesday Odd Man Rush with Clayton Keller, newest member of Team USA.
It's time for your Wednesday Odd Man Rush.
Clayton, congrats, first of all. And I guess I know you just got lit up by the media, but simply, what does it feel like to be an American Olympian now?
Yeah, it's an unbelievable feeling. Obviously something that, I've worked tremendously hard for, something that, I've dreamed about since I was a kid, and, something that I truly believed I could accomplish. So it's an unbelievable feeling, and I couldn't be more excited to, represent my country.
When you were at that orientation in August, what was the sentiment, the sense you got from American leadership about the things you needed to do to make the team?
To be honest, there wasn't like there was a meeting, and it was a get together, get everyone familiar with one another, and it was. The message was pretty simple, gold, and that's it. And I think that's the biggest thing that I took from it, and just tried to do everything I could throughout the season to, show that I wanted to be a part of the team.
How much are you looking forward to playing with Brady and Matthew Tkachuk, a couple of St. Louis guys again?
Yeah, super cool. Guys that, I grew up with, and, we kind of have played, at the same spots kind of at the U.S. program. Brady went to BU. We just miss each other by, a year or so. But, yeah, it'll be so special to, share that experience with those guys, and just to, look back and, realize how far we've came. Since we're just, young kids in St. Louis having fun playing hockey.
Do you have any cool Olympic memories? I guess. I mean, the last one is 2014, right? Sochi.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the biggest one for me is obviously the Oshie shootout. Probably a lot of guys had that answer, but that was one that I'll remember for forever.
We weren't on the Four Nations team last year, or on the Olympics team this year. Is there anything that you've either worked on or carried with you this last year to get you to the spot you're at now?
I mean, I think maybe there's certain things in my game that I wanted to, get better at, and I'm always striving to get better, no matter what. So I think also a big thing was, winning the World Championships and being a part of that, playing, international stage, something they haven't done in a long time, and we had such a great group, coaching staff, so to win that was super cool too, and. Who knows? Maybe that played a part in it.
Well, congrats again, Clayton. Thanks for the time.
Sweet, thank you. Short and sweet.
Yeah, that's how we do it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
This is Mammoth Daily.
Thank you again to Clayton Keller for joining us in what was a tight crunch, and also thanks to our PR staff, Jeffrey Sanders and David Piper, who were on the trip. You know it's a big trip, Adrian, when 2 PR guys are on the plane and on the trip, and they helped facilitate that interview while everyone was scrambling to get to the bus because everybody had plans and lunch plans in New York City and things like that. And glad they were able to squeeze little old Mammoth Daily in before the bus left, because Adrian, the bus never waits for the radio guy.
Oh, the bus. It's Mike, you and I have both been on buses at the end of a practice day on the road, and everybody just wants to get out of there. And so you got everybody on the bus and you're waiting for a guy who said, "I'll be on the first bus, I promise." And he gets on the bus and there'll be a round of applause, or there's some stuff that's going to go along with it. He's going to hear about it. So appreciate Clayton for a couple minutes there. But Mike, Jeffrey and David getting us the interview, and we appreciate the whole organization from marketing to content to media relations. They've always got Mammoth Daily at the top of mind and are always looking out for us, because we don't look out for ourselves.
It was funny because we were busing from Jersey back to New York City, Adrian, and we get stuck in traffic, and it would take about an hour after the game and then after practice. And after the game, I'm tired. Like, everybody's kind of kicking back, closing their eyes for a little bit before we go out and have dinner. And it reminded me of the bus trips in the minors, where you're driving overnight and you're trying to catch a few hours of sleep before you have to either go to the office the next day or be at the rink the next day for skate or do something at 8 a.m. What was your sleeping position on the bus? Were you going legs across the aisle? Were you like putting them up on the seat across the aisle, or were you just sleeping upright, or were you just like an alien and staying up all night?
I'm going to try and show you, Mike, because I have never seen anybody do my what would you call it? Sleeping structure? Is that what you call it?
Yeah, sleeping position. Yeah, I'm curious. I want to see this.
Yes, it's only English. Sleeping position. So, Mike, I would always be on the window, on the left side of the bus, right behind our director of hockey operations, Jake Wagman. And I'm a little guy, Mike, which makes it so much better for traveling via a coach bus. So I'm going to put my mic down and I'm going to give you kind of the position. So this is the window over here. And I'd stay in my seat, my window seat. I wouldn't go over to the next one, but I would kind of just
this is great.
Put my feet up like this, kind of against the window. And,
hold on, I'm gonna try and put you in full screen so I can see more of it. Okay, yeah, this is great.
So that's
wait. So you're putting your feet up on the window?
Yeah, kind of on that side, or I'd stretch out and do, kind of diagonally on the floor. But
what are you leaning on? What's supporting your back?
The chair, the seat back.
And you, okay?
Yeah. So I would kind of, like a little snake, like a little,
like you're riding side saddle,
just kind of curl up, and I'd stay in my seat. I didn't even need that second seat, and I was just,
You were in one seat for this?
Mm-hmm.
You're just like a little cannonball, just snug as a bug, huh? Oh my gosh. That is diabolical. That's unbelievable.
I was the littlest guy, but that was comfortable. That's what I did. The little snake with the legs up by the window or down on the floor, but didn't have to worry about me getting in anybody's way, other than the fact, Mike, that on the bus, when you have to go to the bathroom, and
Spider-Man,
my liquid consumption, the gymnastics back to the bathroom at the back of the bus, and I'd try and limit it to once a trip, and it would just be, I'm sorry.
Well, if
Gymnastics.
you've never been on a bus with a team after a game when it's late at night, you're driving through the night, when you're sitting up front like me and Adrian would as the broadcasters, when you look back, all you see is legs.
Yeah.
Legs across the aisles, legs up in the air. Maybe there's a card game in the back, but it's just legs, and you basically have to Spider-Man crawl along the top of the seats to avoid everybody's legs. And invariably you bump into somebody and you just hope it's not your starting center or your goaltender or something like that, and hope that you're not interviewing him the next day and he's all mad at you for waking him up at 3:00 in the morning in between Des Moines and wherever God knows where you're going to the next town. But that was always an adventure. I can't believe you sit facing the window, because I would either go like backpack up against the window and kind of use the backpack as some lumbar support, and then put the feet up and with my head kind of up against the window. The problem there is if it's a bumpy road, you're banging your head the whole time. My issue was always that my feet would fall asleep if I put them up. Like if I put them up across on the seat across the aisle, or if I even put them up in the air, like on the seat head across the aisle, my feet would fall asleep, and it would bother me. But I did learn, if you're going to lay down on the seat, you have to make sure you take the seatbelt and kind of wrap it around your torso, or maybe just like tuck it in your arm. That way, if you come to a stop, you have the seatbelt there to keep you on the seat so you don't lurch off. Because we had a bus driver, Stan, in Atlanta. God bless Stan. He was the nicest guy in the world, but he had the bladder of a field mouse. And Stan the bussy, there's really only a couple traits that like I look for in a bus driver, and one of them is a capable bladder, because Stan the bussy would stop like every hour and a half. And we'd be on the road. We'd be on like an 8-hour trip through the night, and we stopped 5 times at every Loves or Hearts on the way from Atlanta to Fort Myers, Florida. And every time you just fall asleep, Stan has to take a whiz and slams the brakes to pull up at the gas station, and you go flying off the seat. So anyway, that's bus talk.
I could not be a bus driver, Mike. Number one, the bladder situation. Number two, the depth perception. Number 3, I can't stay awake at night. I barely make it home. Like I'm safe, but by the time, Mike, I get home, 20 minutes back to Holiday, I'm at that last light. I'm like, I just don't drive well at night. I'm about ready to conk out.
Steer clear, everyone.
I am very safe. I am very safe. What's it called? Drowsy drivers use next exit. I'm all in on that. But the 20-30 minute drive back home after a game, the last stoplight is just takes some exertion.
If you're driving late at night around the Holiday area and you see a blue Ford Focus,
Escape. It's an Escape.
Blue Ford Escape.
It's an SUV.
That is all over the road. Call 911 immediately and tell them that Adrian Denny is asleep at the wheel again.
Final one on driving at night in my blue Ford Escape. So I am driving home from the arena in Tucson one night, and Tucson is the darkest city in America because they don't allow streetlights because it's friendly for the astrology, right? So they don't allow streetlights. It's a dark city, so there's no light pollution.
Astrology, like you're a Libra, I'm a Sagittarius, like that kind of astrology.
Looking at the stars, astronomy
is the real one.
Yeah, astronomy. It's a big astronomy city.
You've got some Gemini on the street, like, get these streetlights out of here.
So darkest city in America. And I had about a 35-40 minute drive, and I am 25 minutes away from the arena, and I'm at a stoplight, and a guy rolls down his window and says, "Your lights aren't on."
Oh, sweet Lord.
So because I leave them on auto, but I'd get home and I'd pull into my condo and I'd always turn them off so they weren't shining into the bedroom of my neighbor. And it scared me to death. I'm like, how did that just happen? And I said to my broadcast partner the next day, I'm like, bro, did you not notice that I just pulled out of the TCC last night with no lights on? And he's like, I thought you'd turn them on. I'm like, oh, well, I didn't. Okay. So fortunately, somebody caught me at Grant and Alvernon and rolled down the window.
I've been pulled over for that before, for not having them on. It's happened to me too. So you're not alone. We would probably be fired if we didn't bring up the Ottawa Senators at some point in this
on a game night, no less.
on a game night. This is like an August podcast here where there's no news, training camp's a month away, and we're just off the rails. No, let's get into tonight's game and talk about Utah and Ottawa. Ottawa, a team that the Mammoth have never beat before, 0-3 against the Senators. There's that weird game at the Delta Center last year against Ottawa where the Mammoth were the better team and yet lost 4-0. It was just like an 8-minute stretch in the first period, I believe it was, where Ottawa kind of got out and ran around, did all their damage, and Mammoth could never recover. But kind of like New York and kind of like New Jersey when the Mammoth played them a few games back, this Ottawa team, it's a group with a winning record. It's a group with 40-something points right in the mix, and yet somehow is one of the bottom teams in the Eastern Conference. Stop me if you've heard this before, because that's basically Utah's last 2 or 3 opponents from the last road trip. But this Ottawa team, I think from watching them, Adrian, has a lot to bring to the table and should be a playoff team. Their issue is goaltending. Yeah. And coming into their last game, they had the worst team save percentage in the NHL. It has not gotten any better. And they're without Linus Ullmark as we record this right now. He's taking a leave of absence. So not sure when he's going to be back. And until then, it's Levi Merilainen, who's manning the crease for the Sens. But it's been a struggle for Ottawa goaltending wise. That was one of their big stories when Utah first met them earlier in the year in Ottawa, and it continues to be one of their major storylines now into January.
Yeah, Merilainen was pulled in their last game on Monday night against Detroit. 3 quick goals, so Travis Green went to the bullpen. Ottawa's a different team, Mike. You talk about nothing spectacular. That's kind of been their season. They've had a 4-game winning streak. That took place in December. Outside of that, they haven't won more than 2 games in a row, and they haven't gone winless in 3 games in a row. They've just kind of won 1, lost 1, won 2, lost 3, won 2, lost 3. But we'll see if the Mammoth can exploit the goaltending situation, Mike, because the Sens are on a back-to-back. We'll see how they play it. They're in Colorado coming up tomorrow night. So a quick 2-game road trip to the Rockies. Salt Lake tonight and Denver coming up tomorrow.
Hunter Shepard is the other goaltender that we saw in net for Ottawa against Detroit. He was the one that came in once Merilainen got pulled. He hasn't started a game yet this year for Ottawa. He's a guy who's played a lot in the Washington organization, has gotten a couple call-ups there. Really good goaltender with the Hershey Bears in the American Hockey League when they were winning back-to-back Calder Cups. But general manager Steve Stajos for Ottawa talked to the media. They had kind of a mid-season media availability, and he came out and said it, that they expect more out of their goaltending room. And he said that while also expressing confidence in their goaltending room. So he was saying, we like our guys. We need them to be better. They like their coaching staff in Ottawa with Travis Green in year 2. And they made the playoffs last year, a bit of a surprise. Maybe not to them as much. They expected to compete for a playoff spot. They ended up making it in before losing to Toronto. But their expectation is to take that next step. And I think this team would be taking this next step if their goaltending hadn't been holding them back. It's been a tough year for Ullmark in between the pipes. And If he turns into the goaltender that they traded for when they brought him over from Ottawa a couple years back, then this is a playoff team. Or from Boston. Sorry, from Boston a couple years back. Then to me, this is a playoff team because they're hard to play against, as Utah has found out 3 times dating back to last year. And between Stützle, Batherson, and Brady Tkachuk, there's enough up there to create a really good top 6. And then Jake Sanderson on the back end is one of the emerging stars for Ottawa and just across the NHL. And he's earned a spot on Team USA back-to-back years, first 4 nations last year, and then the Olympics this year.
Yeah, Tim Stützle has been playing really good. 2 assists in that game on Monday night. He's got a 13-game scoring streak, and it seems like every time the Mammoth play Ottawa, you're calling the name of Tim Stützle a lot. He's got 45 points already this season for Ottawa, so a point-a-game guy and a fellow German, as we mentioned in our first segment, expected to be a teammate of JJ Peterka. He's on the team, but when they add JJ officially.
And one other thing, too, Brady Tkachuk had been injured earlier in the season, had broke his thumb or had a thumb injury. Still can't fight, still playing with some wrap on that thumb. But ever since he's been back in the lineup, he's been about a point-a-game guy, too. And that's the other element, I think, that can't get swept under the rug, Adrian. This Ottawa team has been above 500 with the league's best goaltender, and they were without arguably their best forward, at least you could say without their captain, but one of their best players for an extended period of time. He's missed 20 games this year. He's been back for around a couple weeks, but they've done all these things. They've stayed in the mix despite the bad goaltending and despite losing Tkachuk for about a month and a half, 2 months. I think that says a lot about the team that Travis Green has.
Yeah, pretty even Steven in everything they do. Now, like we talked about with the Mammoth, looking to go on a run. Probably have to wait till they get Ullmark back to do that, but they do have the first step in their captain, Brady Tkachuk, back.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm just looking at some of the Sport Logic numbers right now, Adrian, the analytics. And you go through Ottawa, especially on the defensive side, and there's a lot of blue numbers, blue meaning they're in the top half. Darker blue means they're in the top 10. And this Ottawa team is really, really strong at keeping pucks away from the middle. And I don't know if you remember, but that was one of our storylines when these teams last played each other, was could Utah get pucks to the interior? And they did. They did in that loss against Ottawa. They lost 4-2. But this was at a point in Utah's season where the Mammoth just didn't seem to be able to generate scoring chances from the dirty areas. And then if you remember, the Mammoth had that game against the Rangers that we've talked about a couple times now on November 22nd, where they did score those greasy goals and they won that game 3-2. That was on November 22nd. Well, a few weeks before that, earlier in November, we were talking about Utah's inability to do that against Ottawa, against a team that defends the middle of the ice extremely effectively. The Mammoth had 13 shots in that loss against Ottawa within 10 feet of the net. Doesn't seem like a lot, but that was actually the most the Mammoth had ever had up to that point in the season. So they did get to the interior. They just didn't capitalize on enough of those opportunities. And if you remember, they had a goal wiped away. Jack McBain thought that he had scored, but they ruled goaltender interference. That would have made it, that would have tied the game, actually, I believe. It would have tied the game 3-3 earlier in the third. And then just a couple shifts later, Michael Amadio goes down and scores for Ottawa to make it 4-2. And then all of a sudden the game's out of reach. Yeah,
it was a game where the Mammoth, they lost it, but they were that close to tying it with McBain there getting called for goaltender interference. And I think, Mike, Utah's taken tremendous strides since that game of increasing their interior traffic and their interior offense, and thought they did a great job against the Rangers on Monday night. In that first period, Utah's 16 scoring chances between the circles or in the circles or on top of the blue paint was pretty impressive, and I thought they got better as the night went on.
Yeah, it's been one of the themes for this team, and it seems as if the Mammoth are playing their best hockey and scoring the most goals when they're not necessarily making the most plays, the most fancy highlight reel passing plays, but instead going to the net, and not just going to the net, but winning battles at the net, establishing positioning around the crease, and taking away the eyes of the goaltender. So that will be something to watch if you're going to the game tonight at the Delta Center. Can Utah get to the interior? But that's a lot of talk about Ottawa. AD, is there anybody that you wanted to shout out on the Utah side that we haven't gotten to enough on our radio broadcast the last couple nights? I know you were breaking things down for us on yesterday's show, but it just feels like there's a lot of heroes. I was talking about Michael Carcone. Lawson Krause has been so consistent for this group. We've talked a lot about Vejmelka, but I wanted to turn things to Utah before we wrap things up and send everybody on their way.
Yeah, how about Lawson Krause making a play in overtime to help the Mammoth win the game on Monday night? First time this year we haven't had Gunther, Sergachev, or Keller on the ice. All three of them for a game-winning goal. And Krause picked up an assist, and the Mammoth got that nice goal. But I thought Krause in that game, he wasn't a star in terms of how the media voted at Madison Square Garden, but for me, he was an honorable mention. Laid down 4 hits in that game, and he was playing on a new line. He was playing on the top line with Keller and Schmaltz. He can just put the guy anywhere. He was on the second line with Gunther and Hayton. And the other one, Mike, I think is, Daniil Boot. I promised the fans in our last hockey night in Utah before Christmas he'd score 5 goals in 5 games before the season was over, and I'm ready to double down on that.
Wow. I heard, I didn't even hear that on the show. I think I saw it on Twitter or something like that before I heard it on the show.
Yeah.
Like, oh, wow. Okay. He said that. 5 goals in 5 games. It's not crazy. It's not crazy considering how many of his chances come from within that 10-foot range, right around the net. I'm trying to pull up his shooting percentage right now because it's ridiculously low. 3.7%. If you're wondering what the average is, it's closer to like 8, 9, 10%. That's average. And Daniil Boot is a guy who goes to the net. Typically, those shooting percentages are higher because you're shooting from higher percentage areas. I think there's a couple parts of it. I think he's a little snake bitten, a little unlucky. I think also he's got to learn to score at this level. And he does have to score. Like, he's getting chances created by Carcone, who I think is playing out of this world. By him and McBain, and it's going to be up to Daniil to finish a few of those plays. I think he's pretty good away from the puck too. Adrian doesn't feel like that group gets caught out of position, and there have been some games recently where you look at who they're lining up against, the second or third line for other teams, and you're like, okay, if you get caught out there, like this could be a little bit of trouble. Because those guys are good over there, and I haven't felt that a lot. I haven't had any like huge breakdowns. He did have a couple turnovers in the neutral zone against New Jersey, Daniil. But for the most part, I think he's been really strong. He just needs to score a little bit more, and I have every ounce of faith that you do that he is going to, because he's right there, and it's just an extra touch of the puck. It's an inch here, an inch there, and those are the margins that we've heard Andre Tourigny talk about that Utah needs to find a way to achieve.
Michael Carcone, you got to watch number 53, folks. If you're at the game tonight, it's going to be great because you can watch him anytime he hops out onto the ice and just how hard he's working. Watch him rip pucks away from guys on simple exits out of the offensive zone to create an offensive chance. He did that against the Rangers several times on Monday night. So when you work as hard as he does and you've got that scoring touch, that's a big difference maker. But love that third line, the only line Bear kept together for Monday night.
He reminds me, don't think I'm crazy here, but some of the things that he does reminds me of some of the things that Clayton Keller does in terms of forcing turnovers in Utah's offensive zone and winning second chances for his team. And nobody would ever mistake Keller and Carcone for Selke winners, I don't think, right? Like, nobody is saying that those guys are the Alexander Barkovs, the Anze Kopitars of the world, but watch in a game how many times Clayton Keller steals the puck from an opponent with Utah in the offensive zone. Now, he does it in the other zones as well, but you see it so much when Keller prolongs a possession by maybe a stick lift and then taking the puck or just raking it out of a pile or making a quick little play to kind of knife the puck away from a guy along the wall. Being a good defensive player isn't all about just having no points and being disciplined and laying guys out like Scott Stevens. Like, Keller makes so many good plays with his stick in the offensive zone. And I see Carcone doing that a lot too, where all of a sudden you're getting a couple chances off the cycle that you should have never had because the defenseman for the other team should have just got the puck out, but instead he had his pocket picked from behind, and Carcone caught up to him, stole the puck, and created chances. So those are things that don't get highlighted as much on the stat sheet, the turnovers that Carcone forces. But watch him. Watch 53, because you'll see him steal a lot of pucks and create a lot of secondary possessions for Utah. And I saw a 53 jersey at Penn Station, Adrian. So right underneath Madison Square Garden. We were right outside the Garden, and boom, there was a 53 Carcone jersey. I'm like, how about that? Carcone Nation from coast to coast.
Salt white or rock black?
Rock black. Yeah, rock black. That mountain blue pops. It pops in the crowd.
That's awesome. Mike, 7:30 tonight. Folks get an extra half hour. You can have dessert. If you're out to eat tonight before the game, you'll have time to get dessert. Don't say, we'd love to have dessert, but we got to get to the game. You got time to get dessert. It's a 7:30 game tonight against the Ottawa Senators. Mike, can't wait to have you back for almost 3 weeks here. 7 straight games, Delta Center.
Not sure exactly when we're going to leave for Nashville on our next road trip, but I think it's going to be 16 days, 16 or 17 days, depending on when we leave on our next road trip. So can finally do some laundry. Can't wait to get groceries for the first time in a couple months. And we'll hit the slopes a little bit. We'll get to enjoy all that the Wasatch Front has to offer. So 7:30 means you're going to be driving back a little bit later, Adrian. I'll bring my air mattress to the studio in case you want to get a little nap and you're rested for your drive home. But make sure you are safe on your way out of the Delta Center tonight and safe getting there as well. We look forward to seeing you. And 7:30 puck drop. Hockey night in Utah. We'll have it for you on the radio, and looking forward to see everybody at the top of Section 7.